चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरद्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 7th chapter, verse number 38. And Vidura is continuing to ask questions to Maitreya. In the previous verses he asked about the various types of dharma. Dharma in general, dharma in traveling, dharma in emergency. And then he asked a specific question about the spiritual world, that who are the people who are serving the Lord when the material creation comes to an end. And now he says, Purushasya cha samsthanam Swarupam va parasya cha jnanam cha nagamam yatta guru sisya prayojanam nimittani cha tasya proktani anubhasurihi sato jnanam kuta punshan bhaktir vairagyam eva. Says also, please tell me about the places of the Lord, His form, and the knowledge which is based on the Shastra Nagma, for which there is a purpose of Guru and Sishya, disciple. What is the reason or means for this knowledge? And this learned has spoken that Swato Jnanam Kuta Punsham Bhakti Vairagya Nayajana. How is it possible that one can attain knowledge by oneself? Then what to speak of Bhakti or Vairagya. So there are two opinions these days that one can attain knowledge by oneself. This is the traditional view, and the other view is that traditional view is that knowledge comes through the Guru Sishya, and the modern view, which is very popular now, is that knowledge comes by oneself. There is no need of Guru. So Vidura is asking a rhetorical question that Satyaganam Kuta, that how can one gain knowledge by oneself? So either he is saying that tell me the process that I can gain knowledge without a guru. That can be one meaning, that is very alluring. And the other is that he is refuting this idea that one can gain knowledge without guru. And bhakti vairagya mevacha, also devotion and true renunciation. How is it possible by oneself? So this is the question he has asked. And Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments, उपासकस्य पुरुषस्य संस्थानं सम्यक् प्रकारेण कीदृशी स्थितिस्तत्त्वं वा तथा उपास्य परस्य परमेश्वरस्य च स्वरूपम्. So he is asking the status both of the worshipper and the worshipped. And there is the worshipable Lord and there is the devotee who worships him. So what are the characteristics of these two? Purushasya cha sansthanam swarupam va parasya cha. And what is the nature of the Lord, also nature of the worshipper? Tatha upasnayascha jnanam nagamam nigmoktam yad guru sishyo prayojanam matya sakashat sishyo ayam janatu gurute sakashadayam bhaktiyam janiyam ityeta lakshya. And also that knowledge which is described in the Nigama, Nigama means the Vedas, which explain the purpose of Guru and disciple. So in the Upanishad it is said that Tad Jnanartham Guru Mere Upasit. In Bhagavatam Krishna says that Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasa Sreyavattam, that one should approach a Guru. So this is the statement of the Nigama. But what is the qualification of Guru and the qualification of disciple? So qualification of Guru is described that he has to be learned in the scriptures, realized in the subject matter, and also he must practice, because if he is not practicing it will be difficult for the student to learn. Even if he knows the Shastra and he is realized, but if he is not practicing, then very hard for the student to understand, because this knowledge is transcendental. So as such there is a difficulty in understanding. So from that reason Guru has a very specific qualification. There are also avadhutas, those who are very highly realized people, but they don't follow any scriptural injunctions. So to study or understand from them will be difficult, because their behavior may be very contrary to what one reads, or it may be very extraordinary, that if one tries to follow it, then one will fail and then become frustrated. So therefore this word Acharya, which itself defines what a teacher means, that he knows the Shastra Achinoti Sarvartham, that he gathers the essence of the scriptures. And Swam Acharti Api, he also follows himself and he also makes the students follow. That is called Acharya. So this is what he means by this, that Prayojan, the purpose, that Matya Sakashat Sisyo Ayam Janatu, that teacher is one who has this intention that let the students learn this from me, and student is one Gurutah Sakashadayam Bhaktiyam Jani. From the teacher I should learn bhakti. There may be so many other subjects which one need to learn, but here the most important thing which is to be learned is bhakti. There are teachers for other subject matters also, but here in Bhagavatam it is the Shastra for Bhakti. Therefore, the main qualification of the student is that he is Jigyasu, inquisitive about Bhakti. That's what Krishna says, Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. That he is inquisitive about the Shreya, this thing which is welfare, which will bring welfare to oneself. But it is Uttam welfare, the supreme. And the principle of Bhagavatam is that it is only bhakti which brings supreme welfare to humanity. All other processes cannot solve the problem of the living entity. So therefore he specifically says Bhaktiyam Janiyam, that I should learn bhakti from the teacher. Tasya Nimittani. So what is the process for this? That he wants to know. And the process is satsang. And one has to associate with the teacher. So these days, of course, you can have email, you can ask questions through the email, or you can have chats. But in the olden times, these things were not available, so one has to physically come to the teacher and have association. That is the process. That is called nimitta here. Anag Suri Bhir Nirapradha Vigya Bhakti Gurum Bina Etanna Bhavati Ityahasvati. So he says that those who are sinless people, this is their opinion, that this type of knowledge is not possible by oneself. That is also one very popular opinion, that knowledge is inside us. Everything is within us. And you do sadhana, then you will become perfect. So that is also not supported by Shastra, because knowledge is not hidden inside. Knowledge has to come from outside, and that's why there is need for Guru. Otherwise, he would not have to say Svato Jnanam Kuta. How can I have one knowledge by oneself? Svata means by oneself. If knowledge is inside us, then it is possible. If you have wealth in your house somewhere hidden, then you can search it. But if there is no wealth in the house, then you have to go out and work. And then somebody will pay you, do a job or you do business, so you have to get it from somewhere. So if it is inside, then yes, you can get it. You have to just uncover your ignorance of yourself. But Vidura says, Svato Jnanam Kutaha Bhakti Vairagyam Eva Chanet. How is it possible that one can have knowledge by oneself? It is not possible. What is inside? There are a lot of things inside also, but these are all material experiences. They are lying inside our chitta. And one can also get a lot of knowledge because one can contact Mahat Tattva, which is supposed to be the storehouse of knowledge. But to get bhakti, it is not possible by any of these processes. So that is the need therefore. So to know that, one must approach a teacher. And that also makes logic, it is logical, it is practical, rational, that if you want to learn something, then we always approach somebody who knows. Materially we are always doing it. And if we have to experiment ourselves, then even material knowledge it is possible that you can get. But it may take more time. If we have to even learn simple thing, how to make pasta, then you may have to learn it from somebody. You can also experiment yourself, and you may be happy that you know it, but maybe you still don't know the authentic process. You are only satisfied that you have learned it. So it is very important, and especially about bhakti, says bhakti vairagya moksha. Even vairagya, renunciation, cannot happen by one side. Because there are many people who try to become renounced, but real renunciation means to lose interest in the sense objects. It is not giving up the sense objects. Giving up sense objects, there are many people who do that, especially in India. A lot of poor people, they don't have sense objects. They are struggling. 80% of Indian population is living on 20 rupees a day. So they are very big vairagis, very renounced, naturally. Because even a sannyasi will not live on 20 rupees. The modern sannyasis, I don't think you will find any sannyasi who is living on 20 rupees a day. You know somebody? Sannyasi. But 80% of the Indians, but 80% of the Indians, according to the survey, are living on 20 rupees a day. So they are very renounced. But are they renounced? They are dreaming when they will get wealth. So renunciation does not mean not to have material objects, but not to have the attachment, not to have the desire for sense gratification. That is the meaning of. Means to lose taste. And that you have to learn. That is not going to happen by itself. To lose interest. Rasovarjam rasapyasya param drishtva nivartate. Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehi. If you do nirahar, if you don't eat, then Krishna says Vishya vinivartante, then you cannot enjoy. Because to enjoy, your body has to have some strength. If you fast for 2 days, then you feel like just being in the bed. Cannot go and enjoy or go on picnic. You have no energy. And even if you are in your own room, you have no energy to do anything if you are not allowed to eat. So it says Vishya vinivartante, they have the Vishayas, they go away. If you are nirahar, niraharasya dehi, you don't eat. But as soon as the food will go inside the body, then immediately the desire will come. So you can subside your desire if you fast. Because desires, they originate in the mind. Mind is the storehouse of desires. And mind is made of food. Annamayam hi somya mana. Mind is made of food. You can experiment it. Don't eat one day. Then you see how weak your mind becomes. You will forget everything except food. You sleep and you dream of food. And all the things you lose interest in. Because food is most important for the survival of the mind itself. And if it is not getting food, then it has no interest in anything else. But the desires are not gone somewhere. They are just lying. As soon as you will eat, then your desire for food is satisfied, then other desires will come. Because mind cannot remain without desires. There is no mind without desires. You actually cannot feel the mind. The only way you feel the mind is by your desires. If you become desireless, you will not feel the mind. You will become a statue. So, the Vairagya, therefore, Rupa Goswami gives this definition in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that Vairagya means that Swata Aruchi, there is no taste, no interest. So even if you are surrounded with all types of sense objects, then you don't have to control anything. Otherwise, you go outside, sannyasi, then he has to make sure that I don't look at a woman. Now, if he has to avoid looking at woman, first he has to make sure that this is a woman. So he has to look. Then he will avoid looking. And when he is going to avoid looking, the mind will not. You can only avoid your senses, but the mind will think of it. Or vice versa, if a sannyasini is there, yogini, then they should not look at the mind. So you can physically avoid, but mind will go to that object. And that is not vairagya. That is more dangerous than a person who is actually having sense objects and enjoying them. Because when one is enjoying sense objects, how long one can enjoy anything for a short period, then you are fed up with it or you are satiated. But if you are avoiding it and then thinking with the mind, there is no limit on that. Mind can go on enjoying. So you dwell on that famous story of the Buddhist monks, senior and the junior. These two monks, they went for some bhiksha and they have to cross a river. So when they came to the river, they saw one young lady. She also wanted to cross, but there was water and she was afraid. So she asked for help, and this old bhikshu said that it is not possible that I can help because I am a bhikshu, I cannot touch woman. And the young one said, okay, I will help. So he helped. Whatever, held her hand or stories that he put her on her shoulders and carried to the other side. And then he left her on the other bank and they both walked to the village where they were going for bhiksha. And this old fellow then started taunting the young person that what kind of a sadhu you are. You have touched a woman, you have fallen, you have this, you have that. I am an old person, even I am avoiding, you are young, how can you control your senses? I have been practicing brahmacharya for 40 years, you are just a novice. And this religion has become spoiled because of people like you. When I was a young fellow, I did not even look at women, and you are touching this, that, and you were just lecturing him all the way. So this young fellow, he kept quiet. He had nothing to say. Then they went to Dasa and he came back. He was still singing the same song like a tape recorder. Because this is what happens when physically you avoid, then mentally you cannot give up. Mental becomes strong. It's like we close our eyes. When our eyes are open, we are seeing things outside. Then close your eyes, you start seeing things inside. You fall asleep, immediately you are dreaming. So you stop the sense object outside, then you see inside. And what is inside, what you are avoiding is always inside, because that's what you are trying to push inside all the time. So then he came back and he complained to the temple president. He immediately went and complained that we should throw out him from the brahmachari asana. This guy is fallen, and once he spoils the whole tank, he is going to spoil all the brahmacharis. I did not know that he has such a low character. So the temple president called this young brahmachari and asked that what did he do? So he said, this is what I did. So he says, this old one was saying, see, he associated with a woman. So then the young one said that yes, I associated for 5 minutes, but this guy is going on for 5 hours. So yet I am who is associating or he is associating. He says, I helped her to go away and then I forgot about it. But he is making sure that I don't forget. He is helping me to remember. So the real problem is in the mind. And this one cannot understand by oneself. Because how can you understand your own mind with the mind? This is a big problem, to know the mind. Because to study the mind there is no other instrument. You can study others with your mind. Therefore we are always seeing the defects in others. And mind is very expert in that. But to study itself, then what will you do? You have only one mind. So how it will study itself? So that's why you need a teacher. And in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he could not understand that his so-called compassion was attachment. Because mind rationalizes. Freud also said that one of the characteristics of the mind is rationalization. He had many characteristics, projection, how you project your own things on the other. We are always projecting. What is inside us, we see that outside. It's not that we are seeing in a neutral manner. When we are seeing objects outside, then seeing is one thing and then we immediately interpret the situation. And interpretation is according to what is inside us. So we have our own concepts which we have made by hearing or whatever. Freud called that superid. So usually from the childhood, or if you go to a spiritual society, then in the beginning you form certain things, you set certain rules in your mind and then you start seeing everything by that. So the world is not the way one thinks, but how one interprets it. That is the interesting thing about the mind. So therefore everybody lives in one's own world. Vallabhacharya makes a distinction between two words. One is the Jagat or Prapancha, another is the Sansara. These are Sanskrit words which both means world. Sansara also means world and Jagat or Prapancha also means material world. But he makes an interesting distinction. He says that this Jagat is real and Sansar is false. He says Jagat is that which is created by the Lord. In this we have been reading that there is Prakriti and Lord glances at it and Mahatattva, Ahinkar and all these elements come and then this world is created, different planetary system. So this is Jagat. But Sansar is how we see it. And how we see it, we don't see it the way it is. We have concepts. So we have Raga and Dvesha, attachment and some disliking. In the objects themselves there is no hatred, there is no liking or disliking. Every object is neutral. This is how Lord has created. But it is our senses in which Raga and Dvesha, Indriyasya Indriyasya raga dvesa vyavasthita. That raga and dvesa, they are situated in the indriya, in the senses. And therefore whenever we see some object, we don't see the object as it is, but we see it as an object of our enjoyment, object of our hatred. And there is a third way of seeing, that is seeing it as neutral, the way it is. But mostly we don't see it that way. And every object can be seen like that. So, and the same object can be seen as lovable or dislikable by the same person, depending on with time things change. So what is real vairagya? That also has to be learned from the teacher. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is teaching this very clearly. Therefore it says, Raso Varjam Rasopyasya Param Drishtva Nivartate. It says that we have rasa. Whenever we see something, we have some rasa in that, some taste, some attachment or aversion to it. Either the rasa is there or virasa is there. But when we have higher knowledge, transcendental realization, then this attachment also goes away. That is the real vairagya. So then such people don't have to shun material objects. Because this is creation of God, it is manifestation of God. That's what we have been seeing. Dravyam karmacha kalascha svabhava jiva evacha vasudevat vasudevat prathak nanyasti kaschan. That it is all manifestation of Vasudeva. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So then when that understanding is not there, then we make divisions. This is good, this is bad, this is liking, this is disliking. And then problems, they come one after another. So then Guru Bina Etan Na Bhavati Itihas. So according to Vidura, it is not possible without Guru. It is just not possible. Because everybody has his or her own concept and lives by those concepts and cannot understand that the concept is wrong. It is not. No one thinks that my understanding is wrong. Unless someone points and we have faith in that person. Otherwise, when someone will point, then we will immediately defend ourselves and try to prove how we are right and I am not the way you are thinking. So there are always three persons in every one of us. One is the way we are, second is the way we think ourselves, and third is the way others think of us. And there is a conflict between these three, among these three. And because of that, all the human relational problems come. Because I have an opinion about myself which is totally different from what you have an opinion about me. Sometimes it matches, then we are friendly. And then your opinion changes about me, because opinions change, then you become my enemy, because then I don't like. Because I have my opinion, and if your opinion about me is not matching with my opinion, then I consider you as my enemy. Then we start hating each other. So it is very, very difficult for anybody to get out of this understanding, this network which is created by the mind. Because we have no other way to see it. If you try to see something with your glasses and the glasses are colored, then whatever you see, you will see that object as colored. And if these glasses are fixed onto your eyes, you cannot remove them, then you have no way of knowing how the object actually looks. You have no way. Only if somebody else who does not have the glasses tells you and you have faith, still you will doubt. That's why Shraddha is very important in Bhakti. Adu Shraddha, Rupa Goswami says that it begins with Shraddha, because without Shraddha you are not going to believe. You are going to see the table or the wall as green because you have put on green glasses. And somebody without glasses will say that no, it is white. So obviously you have faith in your own observation. How can you take someone else's observation? Unless you think that he is better than you, he is superior to you, you have faith in that, then you may think that maybe I am wrong. So this is where the problem comes. That there is no faith, then it is not possible to accept. It's impossible. Even a child will not accept. Not these people, grown-up people, when you grow up, then your concepts become more fixed. A child's concept is still malleable. You can still mold it. But once you grow up, then it becomes very fixed. It is not possible. So therefore, Guru is very important. Without that, it is impossible that anybody can understand spirituality. And even if somebody has become perfect without Guru, then it is to be understood that they must have learned it in the past life and were not able to complete, and in this life they are practicing on the basis of that knowledge and samskaras gained in the past life. So swato jnanam kutha punsham bhakti vairagyam evacha. That it is not possible to have bhakti, jnana or vairagya. The real jnana is not possible. Even material jnana is not possible. Etan me prichyata prasnan hare karma vivitsaya duhi me gyasamitratva naryanashta chakshushaha. He says that please explain the answers to all these questions which I have asked, because I want to know about Lord Hari. I am ignorant and my vision has been destroyed by Aja, which is another name for Maya or ignorance. And you are my friend, therefore please explain this to me. I want to know Vivitsaya. Sarve vedascha yagyascha tapodanani chanagha jiva abhay pradhanasya na kurviran kalamapi. It says that there are various ways to do welfare to people. You can give charity. Charity is very common welfare. Many organizations, charitable trusts are there, and they do some work, social work. Doing austerities is also there, that one fasts on certain days or reads for certain hours or does some other type of austerities, doing parikrama. So he says all these things are described. There is also sacrifices, study of the Vedas. He says, but all this does not amount to even 1/16th part of the welfare in the form of making a person, living being, free from fear. Jiva abhay pradhanasya na kurviran kalam. So the biggest welfare which can be done to any human being is giving transcendental knowledge. Nahi jnanasya sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. There is nothing which is more elevating, more purifying than transcendental knowledge. Because you can give food to somebody and that person is satisfied for a few hours. Then again, there is need for food. And even if you give food for the whole life, then that is not enough. Then he has other desires, other demands, and you cannot satisfy a person. It is not possible without transcendental knowledge to satisfy even one person. Yayati had this experience and he very prominently declared this, that it is not possible that even one human being can be satisfied with all the food, wealth, women, cattle, land of the whole earth planet. Not possible. It is a fact. So it's just like pouring ghee into the fire. Bhuyaiva vivadhate, it goes on increasing. Desires are very interesting. They are just like this Rakta beast, this demon described in the Puranas, that if one drop of blood falls from his body, then 100 are created. Same prototype, cloning, instant cloning. Science has not achieved it yet, instant cloning. So that is the desire in the mind. Your desire, one desire is satisfied immediately. Another 10 will stand begging outside your door that we are here, we are ready, work for us. But it is only transcendental knowledge which can satisfy us. Therefore it says, Jeev abhaya pradhanasya na kurviran kalamapi. Because abhaya, to make one fearless, that is the greatest welfare. And fear comes out of ignorance. Bhayam ditviya vinivestasya ishadapetasya pariyasmriti. Bhaya comes because of identifying with the physical body and forgetting God. Then our mind is twisted. As soon as we forget God, then we start seeing that this Jagat becomes samsara. Why Bhagavatam is trying to explain all this creation in second and third canto again and again, so that we know that this world is actually Lord. It is Swarupa. And we should remember this. Otherwise, as soon as we forget this, then we immediately think that this is for my enjoyment. And as you do that, then one who is thinking to enjoy suffers. All the suffering comes because of the desire for enjoyment. Then one becomes stuck in it. So abhaya, to be fearless, is possible only when one knows that one's swarupa is not this physical body, and one is part of God's energy. Mama evam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So then it is possible to be free from fear. Unless one comes to this point, one will always be in fear. Because whatever you may possess, it's not only that when you don't have wealth and health, you are fearful or miserable. Everybody, those who have wealth, they are fearing that I can lose my money. In these days it can be lost very quickly by the stock market. Those who don't have wealth, they are in fear that something can happen to me. If I fall sick, how I will take care, how will I survive, how will I eat. So there is always fear. The only solution for fear, getting rid of fear, is devotion or bhakti and nothing else. So that's why I said that Even if you perform sacrifices, do austerities, or tell others to do sacrifices, austerities, charities, still it does not compare to giving transcendental knowledge. Therefore, he is requesting Maitreya to give this transcendental knowledge. ननु तर्हि नानाविध प्रश्ना एतावन्तः कथं कृताः तत्राह हरे कर्म परिचर्यादिकं तस्य विविधया प्राप्तिच्छया एवं एतान् प्रश्नान् ब्रूहि सर्व जिज्ञासित सिद्धौ सत्यामेव भगवत परिचर्यायां मनो अन्य निरपेक्ष काम एकाग्रम भवति. So he is saying that if bhakti is the important thing, then why are you asking so many questions? Because Vidura, he was like shooting one after another. In one sloka, so many questions. So he says that you are talking about bhakti and relationship between guru and disciple. So what is the use of knowing all this? That tell me about nakshatras and planets. What that has to do with bhakti? Or the various muhurtas, or the Shraddha ceremony. So why do you ask all this? What is the importance? Nana Vridha Prashna Etavanta Katham Krita. So he says that Harehe Karma Paricharyadikam Tasya Vivitsaya. He says, I want to know about service to Lord Hari. That is my real intention. Hari Paricharya. That's what I want. But for that, I have to know all these questions. So he says, why you have to know that? He says, why I have to know that? He says, if I have to fix my mind on service, it should not have any deviations. What about sacrifice? What about jyotis? What about karma kanda? What about this? He says, unless all these things are cleared up, how will I fix my mind? So for that he says, Sarva jigyasita siddhau satyameva bhagavat paricharyayam mano anya nirpeksha kama peksham ekagram bhavati. And all my queries have been answered properly. And I have understood how bhakti is the essence, how bhakti is superior to all the process. Then my mind will become one-pointed in service to the Lord. Otherwise, it is a fact that you hear one person and he says, do pranayam. And pranayam is very important. And if you are not doing pranayam, how can you even control your mind? And is not your mind wandering? Then somebody else comes, he talks about Reiki or Qigong, that how you have to actually first align all your energy centers. It is not possible to realize anything higher if your energy centers are disturbed. Because to attain perfection means you have to fix everything in your body. So you may hear so many things. Somebody will talk about Mayavad, Brahmavad, Vivartavad, so many vadas in there. You have to meditate in between the eyebrows and the tip of the nose, and the heart, and the light, and the top of the head. There are 6 chakras, there are 7 chakras, there are 16 chakras. And you have to balance your chakras. So he says you have to know all this. And then what about the Shraddha and the forefathers? If your forefathers are not satisfied, then they will haunt you. So therefore he says that unless all these things are cleared up, mind will not become stable. So that's why hearing all this is important. Then our faith becomes crystallized, it becomes very strong, and it does not become deviated. So for that reason, Uttamadhikari is that who knows Shastra very well, and who can speak it understand the meaning and also argue against those who are deviants. And such a person has strong faith. He is called Uttamadhikari because his Shraddha is Uttam, he is the highest Shraddha. So Shastriya Shraddha is based on Shastriya knowledge. More you understand Shastra, more your Shraddha will increase. And when your Shraddha is more, then naturally your mind is fixed. When Shraddha is weak, then it will waver. One day this way, another day, another day. One day you are worshipping one god, another day another god. Mansa ekagre satyeva tatprapti. And only when mind is fixed, then you can attain bhakti. Me mahyam mam uddhartumiti me padasya panuruttanna sankhya. So he says, please to uplift me, you explain this, all these meanings to me. Mitratvat, because you are a friend. Mitraya putrastvapi mitrameva sarvajagtam. Because you are the son of Mitra, which means friend, you are the friend of the whole world. And friend means one who does welfare to the friend. That is the meaning of friend. न केवलम इदम मदुद्धारार्थमेव अपितु भक्तोऽपि पुण्य शो लाभार्थमित्यः सर्वे. And it is not only that it is for my benefit. He said that it is also for your benefit. The most intelligent people are those who don't ask you something, but they make you feel that if you give this thing to me, you will benefit. One is that I come and ask you that please give me money or give me this object. Other is that I make you feel that if you give me money, you are benefiting. So then you will give naturally. So Vidura is very intelligent. He says that, of course, I am asking these questions for my benefit, but it is also for your benefit. Because to do abhay or make a person fearless by giving transcendental knowledge, that is the highest welfare. So you please do that. So now this is the end of his questions. Now Sukadeva Goswami will speak one verse. That will be the end of this chapter. Then Maitreya will start answering from the next chapter onwards.
In the beginning you said that the Mahatattva is the fountain of all knowledge or something like
Material
this.
knowledge.
Could you say something more on this point?
Because everything is coming from that. That is cause. So cause has the effect in it. So material knowledge is about material objects, isn't it? And all the material objects have come ultimately from Mahatattva. So if you can understand Mahatattva, you can understand whatever has come from it. Like the plant is coming from the seed. And if you can understand what is in the seed, then you will know what all will come out of it.
The objects or beings should not come from Prakriti.
Prakriti is the unmanifest state. And when Prakriti starts manifesting, then the first manifestation is Mahatattva.
So in this sense, everything is in Mahat from the point of view of manifestation.
Yeah. So Mahat therefore is called cosmic intelligence. And our Chitta is part of Mahatattva.
So all intelligence is included in Mahat.
Yes. And this is also material intelligence. But it is in Sattva, so it will illuminate and one will understand that this material world is not the ultimate reality. But to get bhakti, that is not enough. One can know, but to attain bhakti or vairagya or knowledge of the soul, that has to come from something which is beyond Mahat.
Yeah. Because otherwise, Mahat is still in manifestation, no?
Yes.
And we can say that our chitta is a part of Mahat
It is made
Tattva.
of Mahat. It is the individualized part of the Mahat.
In the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the wise should not unsettle the minds of the ignorant by giving them knowledge or something like this. Nabudhi Veda Janani,
Jnanam karma sangina.
but engage them in karma.
Josiyat sarva karmani.
So, how does this relate to the highest welfare by giving someone?
Well, it is for those people who are very much attached to karma. That's why it says karma sangha. Na buddhi bhedam janiyat. So those who are very much attached to karma means fruit of material objects, then it's very difficult for them to give up that. So then the solution is to go slow with them. Josiyat sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharam, that you following properly, you also engage them in proper actions. And then slowly they will come. But if it is possible to make them understand, then you can also do that.
So what determines someone's qualification for vairagya? That he is a kinchana gochara, that he is utterly disgusted or exhausted with material life and all his desires and dreams?
Yeah, that is the beginning. But one has to attain vairagya, one has to really realize that there is something higher. To be exhausted is one thing, because really nobody becomes exhausted but frustrated. And then by hearing, by association, one understands that there is some other solution. The thing is that in the material world people do not know. They think that this is the only way to get happiness. And happiness we all want. That is the drive of the soul. Cannot be avoided. Nobody can do anything about it. It's like a burning fire which we all have. So we seek it in the material objects out of ignorance. But if there is higher knowledge, then we at least can consider. Then there is something else, and let me give it up. So that is possible when a person becomes satiated or frustrated with the material pleasures, and they are not satisfying. Then one thinks of vairagya. But real vairagya comes when one has lost taste for it. And that happens when one has a higher taste, spiritual happiness. Otherwise, patanti adhanad yusmadanga aruhya krishena param padam patanti. That you can even practice a lot of vairagya and become situated in good modes, satyaguna, and again you come down because the higher taste is not acquired.
So the higher taste really comes by Shastriya Shraddha?
Yes. And bhakti. Because Shastra Shraddha ultimately has to be in bhakti. This is the essence of Shastra.
So my question is related to that, because you said that in the mind there are three types of perception. That perception that we have of ourselves, what the other people they are perceiving from
No,
us.
that you don't have. So that your mind has. You don't know what others perceive you.
No, I don't know, but it's different. And sometimes it's not agreeing and then it's the clash. But my question is like that now we have to replace this type of understanding of ourselves with the understanding that the Guru is proposing. And this is the only way. So that means that the Guru understanding has to become superior in our mind. And then we surrender to that and we follow. But the point is that
Point is a problem.
the point is we have such a, I mean, here comes the Shraddha, okay, the work of the faith. So because the difficulty is to give up our concept, right?
You will not give up the concept unless you have faith. Because why would you? Nobody wants to give up one's concept.
And this is exactly the point. It's like that.
It's not possible. Nobody wants to give up.
Because
That's the work of Ahankar. Ahankar holds your concept. He is the owner. So why should he let it go? It is my concept. Arjuna says, these are my relatives, my uncle, my cousin brother, my maternal uncle, my grandfather. How can I kill them? They
And this
are
is
mine. And if they are killed, then I am finished. And he says, I don't even want to live by killing them.
yeah, because it's difficult to imagine that can be something else behind that.
So to renounce one's concept is possible only if one has Shraddha. And by Shraddha one hears, then understands, then one adjusts one's concepts. Because giving up means cannot be empty, but you adjust, you improve, you change or refine your concept.
And then you have to, this is also related to become free of the fear, right?
Yeah.